Revealing Truth Ministries family and friends, welcome to another Deeper Dive Live. We are live in the building with our senior pastor, Pastor Brian Poe.
Listen, I'm here, and I'm glad to be here with Pastor Mar and Pastor Greg.
Hey.
And as special guest, we have with us the Dickersons.
Hey, how
y'all doing?
Good to be here. Good to be here.
Glad to have you here. Glad to have you all here as well. Like, share the stream. You know what we do during this time. The Deeper Dive allows us to attend to the things that God has said to us, as we've determined to be people who are most blessed. Use the chat. Share. As you hear things that inspire you, drop it in the chat. It may inspire somebody else. And, looking forward to getting into the conversation. So this is special because this is Deeper Dive Love, Money, and Purpose edition, right? We're in this sermon series, and we've designed and packaged this conversation to continue the messages from Sunday. And we've had Miss Pat Givens with us. We've had the Innocis with us, and now here you all are to help us wrap things up.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm excited about that. Always love an opportunity to sit down and talk with you guys. So
Excellent.
we're going to start with Pastor Brian just sharing from, his heart as it relates to purpose in our sermon series.
Yeah, and I'm excited, right? Because I feel like purpose is such a crucial topic. I say it's a topic that many people want to major in, but they feel as though, man, it's elusive. And so I'm excited, right, that God has us here in this year, that we can really see it God's way and understand how God views purpose, and so in such how we should view purpose as people of God. Because if there's one thing that there's just polarizing opposites when it comes to the world's way and the kingdom way, purpose is one of those subjects where there aren't few lines that cross. That as people of God, how we view purpose is very distinct and from anyone else.
Yeah, that's good. I like what you said. People, we want to master in it. Many of us want to master in it, but for some reason it's been elusive. So prayerfully, this conversation helps at least our audience, our members, narrow down how purpose should be defined and lived out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
Let's start with, we're in the conversation, we're talking about purpose, but just give some folks some background of your career work, the work that you've done as we enter into this conversation about purpose.
You want to go first?
Me? As far as career-wise, I started in insurance from high school. So go to school part day and then go to work part day. So I started that. And then after we got married, took a little time, had kids, no working, and then went back when the youngest was 6 months and went back into insurance. And then I continued working into insurance between USAA and MetLife. I think I totaled like 33 years in insurance industry.
But you can't forget A.L. Williams. She started off with a company called A.L. Williams.
Well, that was before children.
Yeah.
That's so long ago.
So it's actually been long. It's actually been longer than 33
I used
years.
to sell
Okay, got it.
insurance
Yeah.
for a little bit.
Yeah.
For
Wow.
a couple of years, I had a license to sell insurance, and I learned quickly that was not my niche to sell.
How quick?
I could have sold.
Yeah, oh, well, yeah,
Okay.
they always
your
tell him
thing.
he can sell ice to an Eskimo.
Yeah.
He just got that personality to sell. But me, I was more of a in the leadership position, manager type position. I can
Okay.
send people out, but
Yeah.
Wait, how many children do you all have?
Two
Two
daughters.
two daughters,
Two daughters.
two girls.
So
Taryn
when
and Dion.
what's the first one's name?
Taryn.
Taryn and
And
Dion.
Dion.
When the youngest was about 6
6
months,
months.
then you went back to work.
I went back to work. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Cool.
Yep.
How many years apart are they?
4
Yeah.
Okay.
years
Yeah.
apart.
So you were out of the workforce for almost
for 4 years. Yeah.
4
after
years.
the first baby, I did not go back to work.
okay.
I stayed home, and
All
then we moved because we moved with the military, with the Air Force. We moved from Eglin Air Force Base, that's in the Panhandle,
Mhm.
to here to Tampa for MacDill. And so when we moved here, I was pregnant. And then after we had the baby, so home for a little bit, and then he didn't ask me or anything about working because we were still making the bills with his salary, but it was just I'm used to making my own money type situation where we had a conversation. I said, I think I want to go back to work, and he's like, okay, cool.
Okay.
Fine
with me.
So yeah,
Your money is my money. Let's go. As far as me, I went to college. I graduated on I think May 7th, and I think a week later I was at the University of Florida. And I went to University of Florida for the first 2-3 semesters. And my grades were decent, but I was having too much fun.
Okay.
And I was already in love.
Okay.
So it was like, okay, we started talking about getting married, and I was with that.
Okay.
Because I knew she was the right one. And so it was like time to make a decision. So I came home in October of that year and said, Mom and Dad, I'm not going back to college. I'm going to the Air Force. And my dad was a military guy. He was like, that's great.
Okay.
And I joined the Air Force in October of 79. And we got married September 6th, this day, 1980.
Today is the anniversary.
Today is our 45th anniversary.
45
years.
Talk about putting in the work.
Yeah.
We put in the work.
Yeah.
And it's funny that now we sit here and we talk about love, money, and purpose. When we got married, we had no money. We were in love, but we had no money. And our purpose was just to get married, and we got sent away to Eglin Air Force Base in the Panhandle. And it was like, okay, now it's survival. So there was no focus on.
We just wanted to be together.
Yeah, we just wanted to be, but there was no focus on the concept of what we're talking about at the level that we're talking about now. But 45 years later, 65 years old, she'll be 60 coming up in December. You never tell a woman's age, especially when you're being recorded. But my whole view of love, money, and purpose is changed because now I finally I understand where it all comes from. And so when we were going into this session and we were going to talk about love, money, and purpose, but you said God's way.
Yeah.
That was like, wait a minute. There is a better way. And so I was like, okay. So after serving in the military, I served in the military for 20 years and 2 months, retired as a master sergeant. I went to work for HUD, and I worked for Tampa Housing Authority.
Yeah.
I became the contracting officer. I did that for 17 years until I had a stroke. And she'll tell you, I was always on the go. And the reason she could stay home for those 4 years and not have to worry about going out and get a job, because that was my job, was to provide. And so my purpose was to survive and to provide for my family. So I was a bus boy, I was a waiter, I was a janitor.
Always had more than
while I was on active duty. I worked, and we only had one car.
Yep.
And we bought that for my brother. And I was riding a 10-speed to work and a 10-speed to the officers club, the bus tables. And then I got a job as a janitor working downstairs in the hospital, cleaning lab and x-ray.
I know this is not till death do us part.
No.
But
you gotta drop them nuggets, huh?
Because you're saying a lot. We go and I love what yes. But you talk about just revealing the truth, because this is Revealing Truth Ministries. At first you hear, right? Oh no, I didn't go to work for 4 years until 6 months in. And then you're sharing it. Everyone's like, man, that's awesome. And then he's like, yeah, so
right
during that same time, I had
Working,
I had four,
Yep.
I had four jobs.
All the jobs.
Driving
Yep.
a 10-speed.
Yep. Yep.
The car she
Drive the
had, we
car.
brought from my brother. Like people. I think people in this day and age are hearing the other side of what was making this engine move.
Mhm.
But see,
Yeah.
you know what though? I think that's important for people to hear because
Oh, it is.
you know, people look at us now and say, "Oh, what a great couple." Y'all don't know. We had nothing.
Right.
We started off with wedding gifts and clothes.
Yep.
That was it. And some of those wedding gifts was little money. That was it.
Yeah.
And so when we started having kids and life started moving, we had to make some money. So guess what? I love the fact that she was able to stay home with my daughter and raise her. But then it was my job to go to work.
Yeah.
And I did it.
That's
And-
what's so
and-
beautiful about it is he made no bones about it when the bills were coming in. We only had the one income from the military, and I would do the bills, I added up and everything, and then didn't have a whole lot left over. He like, well, I'll just go get a job. Just so matter of fact, because it was just in him to work. No matter how many jobs.
That was
Remember
my purpose.
What the
And
guy
I
told
love-
you.
No, you.
No, well, no, because he, like you said, he used to work as a janitor in the hospital, the military hospital, where in
Where
the daytime.
I was an airman first class, which was there had
Wait a
never been an
minute.
airman first class. That's two stripes. An airman first class in charge of dermatology.
Wow.
So I worked directly for two dermatologists, and I had an airman that worked under me. And so in order to get the job as a janitor, cleaning lab and x-ray, I had to get permission from my boss, who was the chief. And the chief said, what's it gonna look like
Right.
when one of my airmen is changing his uniform in the office and going downstairs cleaning the lab and x-ray?
Let's talk.
And I said, it's gonna look like I'm providing for my family.
Yeah.
I told him, it's gonna look like I'm providing for my family.
Yeah.
Yep.
What?
Yeah.
So then,
What?
when I went and bought my wife a new Cougar,
Mm-hmm.
everybody looking at me like, how can he afford that? I'm working 3 jobs.
Yeah.
I worked like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday cleaning the janitor in dermatology, then cleaning the lab and x-ray. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I was a busboy at the officers club, busting
Wow.
tables.
Yep.
And then I worked my way up to be a waiter, which was really good because now I'm getting the tips. I'm sorry.
Elder. I saw you.
Call me
No,
Call me
you have-
Ray.
You have, for us, you have to unpack where your mindset was compared to your peers and even your supervisors.
Yeah.
So just to think, during the day, you got the stripes on your uniform.
Yes.
But by night,
At 4 o'clock, I changed into super janitor
yes.
and put on the janitorial uniform with my name over here.
Right.
And I go down to lab and x-ray and I mop floors, empty garbage cans, throw out all the trash. I do that for 4 hours and then I go home.
Yeah.
So now I leave home in the morning, got to be to work at 8 o'clock.
Mhm.
I ride the bike in the dark, get to the hospital.
Wow.
When I finish, I go downstairs, change into my janitorial outfit. Then I get on the 10-speed and I ride home.
Mm.
And that's usually about 8 o'clock at night. So there was nothing in me that felt that was anything
But I love
inappropriate.
Well, and I love it because he said my purpose was to provide.
There we
Yes.
go.
Purpose was to provide, and I love it because it's almost what does purpose look like when it's realized,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
In that season, purpose was to provide. And so because purpose was to provide, what that looked like was this is what I'm putting my all into.
That's right.
Mhm.
Like there's nothing I won't do
Right.
to walk in the purpose I've been called to.
Exactly.
But I got to stop you right there, Pastor Brian.
I know we
I got to
building.
stop you right there.
Yeah,
Because that's what I thought then
that's
in the
what
world.
that's what I'm saying.
But when you said God's way,
Yeah,
I realized that developing that relationship with God, having my relationship with God now, and knowing that he's the provider,
Yes.
it changed the whole scope for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
sir.
then look at how he's blessed us over the years.
Mhm.
God was blessing us when we weren't going to church.
Yeah.
We were raised in the church, but when we got married, we weren't always going to church. God was still blessing us. His hand was still on us. He was still providing.
Yes.
Even when I was hustling, trying to make a dollar, God was taking care of everything. She never got sick. I never got sick. The babies were good. It was all good.
Yeah.
There's something practical that I want to point out though. Before we get to the you got the renewed mind and all of that though. Pastor Brian, you often says when he talks about purpose, he says one of the reasons purpose can be elusive is because people marry their identity to their job title or whatever it is. So in this situation, even where you were spiritually, where you were mentally, maturity wise, there was still something worth talking about in your mindset, in your thinking, that you didn't marry your identity with
Right.
these stripes.
There we
Right.
go.
No,
Right.
no,
There
no.
we go.
Right.
And that- so that's what, and that's
No.
and that's what,
Well,
and so just seeing. So we know there's going to be I'm gonna say it like this. There's going to be a Saul to Paul moment,
Yeah.
right? We know there's going to be a Saul to Paul
Yeah.
moment, but like we always say, there was things about Saul that was still mentality wise good for
Good.
Paul.
That's right.
Right, and so those are more what I'm extracting, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That you said purpose was provided.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
That meant I'm not looking at titles. I'm not looking at responsibilities.
What this gonna look
I'm
like
not-
to
I'm- no.
peers?
I don't even care what this gonna look like.
I
to
don't
nobody
care
else.
because provider,
Yeah.
Yeah.
provider. This is not my. I'm the stars, stripes or no stripes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm.
Provider.
Yeah.
Right.
And since this is how I'm seeing my purpose, right, that I am intense about that being realized.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like there's no what I'm hearing you, there wasn't no restriction.
None. No
Um,
limits.
There was no limits.
Right.
Right? And all of these, the reason I'm saying these are transferable mentalities to God's way.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that when God says this is so first of all, well, I'm gonna let it cook. I know Pastor Mark's cook before we go to God's way.
I want to get to Miss Terry because you too. I mean, you were working since high school,
Yep.
right? Working even in high school, going to school during half the day,
Half
then
the day,
work
then I go
next
to
part
work.
of the day. You get to the point where you have a child, and the decision is that you're going to stay home. Give us more detail to that decision.
Well, with us, because we were so young, we were 22
Okay.
when we had the first baby. We were babies, but we came to the decision after we had that first baby is we want to do everything that we can for this baby. We're not going to let. She's not going to daycare, you know. But especially with the first baby, when you have children, it's like the most precious gift ever, you know. And the last thing you can think about is anybody else taking care of this baby all day, you know. So we were like, you know, what are you gonna do, you know? And because when we moved and I was pregnant, I had quit my job in Fort Walton Beach. And so when we moved to Tampa, but that's baby 2. You're talking baby 1. That's right. So with the first baby, I was working up until I think 8 months. 8 months.
Mhm.
And then we stopped working. And then after I had the first baby, we said, we don't want to put her in daycare.
No.
And we were both on, you know.
What would you say you're identifying? What was your identity at that time? What would you say you're identifying as, both of you?
Mhm.
In that moment, that period, that season of your life, what are you identifying as? Like,
I was identifying myself, first of all, as a mother that cared for this beautiful baby. And that's the only thing I want to do is take care of this baby, make a home for my husband and for the baby,
Yeah.
make a good home and just take care and make sure she get the best start ever.
And I identified as a young husband, and I'm the provider. That's my job. You ain't gotta work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll work 15 jobs before I let you. If you want to stay home and take care of my baby and provide a home for me,
Mm-hmm.
I got the rest.
Mm-hmm.
I'll
Good.
figure out a way. And the crazy thing about that is, like I said, I had 2 stripes at the time when my first daughter was born. When I retired as a master sergeant, I was working part-time at Tampa General.
Yep.
So that never left me. I always provided. And what I realize now is, man, God was all over me.
Yeah.
I was serving in the ministry that we were at then. Then when we came here, I had already retired when I came here. And I had been in ministry since 1995.
You mean here to the church?
When we came to Revealing Truth, yeah. But my thing was, I was always gonna be that provider. So when I had an opportunity to serve as an armor bearer, that was providing. When I had an opportunity to be Pastor Poe's driver, when I got the limousine and I started the limousine company, I limited who I would drive in my limousine because I always said, I cannot pick up Pastor Poe on Sunday morning after somebody had been in my limousine doing something inappropriate the night before. There would be no alcohol in my limousine. It was just not going to happen. My company, I'm starting it. I set up how I want it because I knew I was providing service for the man of God. And that carried a lot of weight with me. If nothing else, I remember teaching. I used to go and teach to other churches about being an armor bearer. And I remember telling this one class in Albany, Georgia, that I was going to serve my way into heaven. That was one of my plans, my purpose. I'm going to serve. I'm going to teach other ministries how to treat the man and woman of God. I'm going to demonstrate it on a regular basis. And I'm going to be that example before anybody who's watching of how you take serving the man of God to another level. And I think I did that. I know I did that. And so my whole purpose has always been just that worker. I mean, my daddy was a drill sergeant in the Navy, a drill instructor. She'll tell you to this day, I don't like cartoons. I don't watch cartoons because we weren't allowed to. Saturday morning, 6, 7 o'clock, Daddy came in, said, okay, let's go. Let's get in the yard. And we lived in a corner lot. We didn't have blowers and edgers and weed eaters.
I got a question.
We had to cut it.
Because there's and when we talk about purpose, right? And I'm gonna start to make that little segue towards God's way, right?
Okay.
One thing we know about God's way is we were created on purpose for a purpose.
Yeah.
Yes.
That you were created like your purpose and how you were created
Yes.
are linked together.
Yes.
I say this because we have a lot of what's a nice way of saying it? A lot of times why purpose seems elusive to a lot of believers, and I'm gonna say something controversial, is because you've been raised to believe you can be who you want to be. That you can be anything you want to be. Now that I get it. This is inspiring to a group of youth. Right. You're telling youth you can be whatever you want to be. You can be whatever you dream yourself to be. Well, here's the thing. As believers, no, you are who you were created to be. That you were created to be something. And so I want to unpack something. It's a simple question. Simple question, because I'm hearing you talk, and I run into a lot of people who are just oscillating in the area of purpose, and I see where they're struggling. How much would you say who you are was taught versus how much of who you are was observed?
Wow.
I was taught. My daddy was that guy. He was those stories you hear about daddy not being in your life, man, my dad was the man. And he taught me how to be a man and how to do and how to work and stuff. But it wasn't until I began to realize When I read this, Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans that I have for you. Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
It ties into what you're saying, Pastor Brian. We were created for a purpose, with a purpose. Listen, everything that I've done in my life has led to these moments right now, where I am, where God has me spiritually. It was part of his plan. And I tell people now when I get to talk to them or if I'm teaching or whatever, God has a plan for you. And if you will work towards gathering, learning and fixing your mind on what that plan is, figuring out what God's plan is for you, then guess what? Things go smooth for you. You don't really have to work as hard because he's already done so much that now if you line up with his plan, things, look how sick, I mean, I was sick. But God said to me in the middle of my illness, go be my example. Those were his exact words to me. Go be my example. And so hearing those instructions, it was like, go get a job. You know, I got to provide this example.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that was still marching orders, but it was God's way.
I want to talk about, like Pastor Brian's question was how much was taught versus how much was observed. For me, like you said, after the first baby, I felt my purpose was provide for this child and for my husband and household. Well, with me, when I think about that, my mother passed when I was 8 years old. So I was a little girl. My brother was 4. So 2 little kids. And my dad moved us in with his mom. So my grandmother, and my grandmother had other kids at home still, you know, even younger than me at the time at home. So when we moved into my grandmother's house, and, you know, back then it was a small 3-bedroom
Wood frame house.
My grandfather built that house.
Yep.
It was a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. And so the 3 of us moved in, and I want to say it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people already there. So
5 kids already there.
well, including grandma.
Okay.
But so you got 8 people in the one small house. But my grandmother, she was the sweetest ever. And I observed her taking care of everybody. Like, she made no bones about it. Like with us moving in, me and my little brother and my dad. And I remember my dad slept on the couch, and we had, you know, I had to bunk with my auntie who was younger than me, but she's still my auntie. But I had to bunk with her, and my brother had to bunk with, it's funny, his uncle, but they were the exact same age. So we had you know, we just moved in, and grandma just made a way for everybody. And she always, you know, had enough food for everybody. She always cooked for everybody. Of course, as kids, we had to clean. But we didn't have to clean a whole lot because she didn't, you know, and that was a thing with her. And where she just took care of the household no matter how many people in there. And so when I think about when I became a mom, the first time it was like, I got to provide. And my grandmother's house was always clean, always had you know, enough food for everybody. And we never missed a meal.
Nope.
Never missed a meal. God provided, you know, everything. And even right now today, being grandparents, and our kids come over every Sunday for dinner. And so I'm in the kitchen cooking, and he's like, you know, why don't you make them come in the kitchen and cook with you? My grandmother never did that. She was always in the kitchen cooking for, you know, and you know how people in our household, people drop by on Sunday.
It was always enough food.
It was always enough food. So I think when I think about my purpose as a nurturer, I guess you would say, a nurturer, as a mom and a grandmother and all like that. I think a lot of that came from observation of my grandmother.
Yeah, and the reason why I asked the question, right, is because there's something which is very controversial, right? I say this little statement every once in a while, and the statement is: when you meet Jesus, there's more that he wants to reveal about who you are than change who you are.
Mhm.
The reason why is because there is an understanding that I know will help people,
Mm.
you know, to make that what seems like is so elusive
Yeah.
become something that they can now start to own.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is when you realize that no, he created you on purpose with a purpose,
Right.
that there are many intentional things about your upbringing, whether you can see them or not, that are a part of
They line up
you,
with that.
that line up,
Mhm.
right? That I'll go back to my mom. You know, my mom always says is God hasn't mismanaged your life. You may not have liked how it was managed, but God didn't mismanage it.
No.
Right.
And I say this because so much of who you are can be observed, seen,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
and what has happened or is happening
Right.
in you, around you. Um, it's extremely difficult. And I'm gonna say this way. It's extremely difficult to be what you've never seen.
Yeah. Yes.
Um, very difficult. Not impossible,
Right.
but it is difficult
Difficult to get there.
to do. And but yet a lot of people are trying to do the difficult thing first,
Mm.
Yeah.
right? And it's like, hey, there's some things that that will help you in this walk, help you in like just absolutely walking in a purpose that I'm gonna put it this way, resonates as deeply with you as you want it to resonate.
Yeah.
You know, saying that to say it's almost as if, and I'm gonna just kind of throw this around the circle. It's almost like Greg deciding I'm gonna discover who I am, and it's not gonna have anything to do with God. Well, there's a problem because you've been taught and you observed
Right.
life away.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and you would have to
Yes.
say that God mismanaged all of that
Right.
for it to not in some way impact what he wants to do with you today.
Yeah.
Same thing with Pastor Marno, Pastor Lamar, and seeing his educational roots
Right.
in his family.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like, man, for him to be like, all of that was an accident. You know, all of
Yeah.
that had no bearing. All of that just was nothing. It'd be like, well, I guess you're saying God mismanaged
No.
Mhm.
all of
No.
that, right?
Right.
Saying that to say that a lot of people that I meet that are struggling to own the purpose God has given them is
Mhm.
because they're denying everything that's happened around them.
Yes.
They're denying everything that's been a part of what they've seen and
Right.
what they've been taught. Like,
That's good.
I refuse to do what I saw my grandmama do.
Right.
Like, you literally have people in this generation now that will boldly say, I'm not going to be my mama.
Right.
Well, there's a problem with that.
Yeah.
Right?
'Cause look at you. You here.
That's part of who
The
you
apple,
are.
like I
on
said, the
now.
apple ain't gonna fall too far
Right.
from the tree.
It's part
Oh,
of who you
that's
Now,
are.
there may be some things that God is going to do differently through you,
Yeah.
but you know, you keep running from
Mm.
what you were born into.
Right.
You
Good.
know,
Right.
and it's like I even talk about, well, I saw my father.
Yes.
You know, my father had this same level of work ethic.
That's right.
He had
Mhm.
this same, so even so, it's not a surprise
Right.
that you
That's good.
have this work ethic,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
But then I'll hear men like, "Oh, I'm finna retire my wife," and they have the work ethic that does not connect with
Mhm.
Retirement.
Come on now.
with retirement. But then this is my point. This is my point. I'm trying to get to. Then they try to manufacture it
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
when
Yeah.
you were never created to have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
You know, and now you're trying to be what you never observed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not.
Ooh, that's good. And where you are right now brought me to these thoughts in the last deeper dive. But as best we can we unpack how valuable it is for a person to realize, you had said
Mhm.
better, clean up what I'm about to
Okay.
say.
Okay.
but to realize the part they play in their lineage, more generational perspective, but realizing the part that I'm playing now in the lineage. Like they're going to be people who my children, my grandchildren, they're coming, and I have a part to play in this line. So me realizing the part that I'm playing now, I think sobers me up for all of these lofty ideas that
Yeah.
may not be related to my.
You know, and I wish there's so yes, I wish there was a simple way to answer that question.
Yeah, no.
But I'm about to answer it.
Okay.
But I'm gonna answer it in the way it gets answered because Elder Nick, you said some things earlier, right? First off, what we have to realize, kingdom operation. Kingdom operation. What is God's way? How does this work function? At the end of the day, I don't care what you say. It's seed, time, and harvest.
Yeah.
Seed, time, and harvest. Here's the thing. God has never disconnected harvest
That's
through
good.
generations. You
No.
can reap
Yeah.
from the seed that
That
your
was sown.
father and your
That's right.
mother sowed.
Let's go.
Right. This is
right.
why it's so important to lineage is so important
Mhm.
because you can. I'm a living witness.
Mhm.
You and me both.
I'm a living witness of seed, time, and harvest. My whole life that I'm currently living is seed that my father and my mother sowed.
Mhm.
Right, like so to your point, like no, it's so important. Seed, time, harvest. Seed, time, harvest. So it's so critical that you are aware of,
Mhm.
that you're aware of, that you are more and more you want to buy into.
Mhm.
I want
That's
to buy
good.
into
Right.
what my family has been doing, what we because there's a harvest to what has been happening, and otherwise you'll find yourself trying to get a harvest in fields no one has sown seeds.
Uh-huh.
Right. But
Yeah.
there's only one way. Ooh, I'm about to get on it because you said something earlier. You said something earlier.
Mhm.
There's only one way we see biblically in God's way.
Yes.
If you want to talk about God's way, how? Okay, Pastor Poe, I don't have a mother or a father I can look to. I don't have that. Well, there's only one other way that you can start to pick up harvest from out of another field is you start serving that field first.
There
Come
you
on.
go.
Let me jump
There
in
you
real
go.
quick.
Wow.
You can
Your daddy,
Mm.
Pastor Poe, when I got to serve him and drive him and be around him,
Mm.
I'm very observant all the time. I'm always watching. And I watched how he was in the pulpit,
Mm-hmm.
and I watched how he was when he came out. I watched how he was when he was at home. He would make me come into y'all house sometime.
Yeah.
Just for me and him to have a quick conversation before I drove back off.
Yeah.
And I saw that environment. Pastor Deborah had just been in the church, and now she's in the kitchen, or she's getting this and asking him what he wanted. And I saw that. I witnessed that. And so when I witnessed that, and then I saw how our relationship was, I knew we in good ground. This seed that I'm being exposed to is good. And then what's really good is this. Right now today, I have cousins. They call me Uncle Nick.
Mhm.
And so I asked my cousin Tyrone, I said, man, I'm really not your uncle, I'm your cousin.
Right.
He said, I know.
Yeah.
He said, but you've always been that stand-up kind of guy, and I've watched you and how you raised your family and this, and now I got a family, and so I respect you so much.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I respected Pastor Poe so much
Yeah.
Yeah.
that it just like, you got to stay in this lane. You got to stay because this is good for you.
Yeah.
I didn't know where it was taking me, but I knew it was good.
Yeah.
Seed had been sown.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
And I have watched the process of the seed, time, and harvest.
Right. And so yes. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because what does this generation want to achieve? Well, what are they trying to run away from in all their efforts to achieve? Serving.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. That is the gateway. that
Serve
that
your
that
way into heaven.
you have to. Of course, I just was looking up, right? Because it's all throughout the Bible, but David served his way in,
Yes.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That when you talk about this, answer Pastor Mara's question, when you talk about that's it,
Yeah.
right? That man, if you're in that position and you are like, well, man, I don't have any godly examples, or maybe you don't have any connections like that, and it's like, well, where am I harvesting from? Because I don't have the lineage of seeds being sown, right? I'm not Brian Poe. I didn't have a Pastor Poe that came before me. Well, no, that's where servanthood comes in.
Because now I
Because
got a Pastor Brian to look at. I got a Pastor Lamar, a Pastor Greg to look at.
Yeah.
So if I didn't have it, God's put before me examples.
Yeah.
So when I was sick and I asked God to let me walk again, and the first thing he said to me was, go be my example. He was saying, go stand before other people and be the example.
Yeah.
Show them how to get to me. Show them how to find me.
Yeah.
Go be that example. And from that point on, I've been up and trying to walk. I've been trying to get them. Today, I don't have my braces on because I trust God more than I trust the braces.
Yeah.
So I have to take them off every now and then
Yeah.
and let him know I'm trusting you
Yeah.
because you've shown me through your actions with me where you will take me if I just continue to trust you.
Amen.
And so I'm gonna throw this out, right? I think this is so good. How much is discovering purpose God's way a product of trust than it is effort?
Yes.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes.
Like there is and I'm throwing this out for everybody to kind of chime in, and really even thinking about your own, like how you have discovered and have established yourself in purpose. How much of it in God's way is a matter of trust in him versus intelligence gained,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? I say that because, well, I might as well just keep talk a little bit about it. Those are one of those contrasting opposites between the world's way and God's way. And that's why I see a lot of believers, they get purpose seems elusive to them because they're used to being in a system to where you purpose is something you would develop in your intelligence, that you gain confidence in your purpose by book knowledge,
Right.
where in God's way you gain confidence through your furthering trust in him.
Trust in him.
You
Right.
you
Trust
gain
in him.
you gain confidence and reassurance through, once again, putting your faith in him.
Yes.
That purpose becomes clear the more you're willing to trust him with what you were doing.
Exactly.
That it doesn't unlock because you've raised your intellect.
Yeah.
It doesn't, you don't feel more secure in your purpose that God's called you to, because you've become more confident in what you bring to the table. Right? Like and those are complete opposites.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Like I've when I've talked to people when they're working their way out of one system and into the other, man, they're just, it feels unfamiliar for me to be feeling confident about what I'm doing when I'm doing something based on the trust that I have in God.
Yeah.
But
Like-
there's no college degree in trust. You can't go to school and get a college degree in trusting. That's the spiritual part of it. It's developing that relationship with God and really trusting God. You're doing something and you really don't know why you're doing it. And the smartest thing to do is just turn it over to him and trust that I'll make this work. I'll show you how this is going to work. I'll line this up for you. And it's about trusting in him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds so, the world's way is so complicated. Religion is so complicated. God's way is so simple.
Well, this
And-
victory.
And often it sounds like an oversimplification. But I think this starts with if I was to take your question, make it personal, like, man, how did I get into purpose? It started with, I gave myself to God.
Yeah.
I trusted him with
I trust
my life, not just with my purpose or calling or work. There was a point that I came to where I said, okay, God, like, I'm yours.
Yeah.
And then he starts leading,
Yeah.
and you end up someplace, right? But I think there's so many Bible examples of it just being that simple. I'm thinking about when Paul is going on and talking about the gift that the Macedonian churches prepared for the people in Jerusalem.
Mhm.
He said, and he's getting down. Why did they do it? Yeah, we know that their depth of poverty and their something else mixed together, right? But when you get down to verse 8, I think it is, he says they first gave themselves to God.
Yes.
They first gave themselves to God.
Yes.
Then they gave themselves to us as God's leadership or God's representatives.
Yes.
And what they did next was based on what they did first. And I
Giving
think
themselves to God.
that's the answer. Like, what did you do first? Did you first give yourself to God?
Yes.
Give yourself to God. That will lead you to what you're going to do next.